Hello, all. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, News and Public Affairs Director at WNCU 90.7 FM. And hello to you. Thank you very much for tuning in to COVID Conversations by way of WNCU 90.7 FM on Zoom. And we're very glad to use this platform to be able to talk about the virus and how it's affecting the way that we live today. Now, African Americans are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Infection rates are high and deaths are high across the nation. And Black Americans are also experiencing the economic brunt of the pandemic. And there's great suffering all over the country, all over the world. I have as my guest today on COVID Conversations, longtime business owners Denise and Larry Hester. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Great.
Very good. Good to see you both. And so both of you are Black business owners and you're in the Haiti community in Durham, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. How long have you been in business, first of all? You gotta go way back.
I gotta subtract with it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, about 43 years.
Wow.
Yeah, about the same.
About the same, 43 years. And let's talk about Phoenix Crossing and that Haiti community. So what's it like to be in business there, even when there is no COVID? What's it like? I know I drive by there on my way to work and the way home, and it's usually pretty bustling up there.
Normally, in answer to your question about how are things up here, we are a community of very small businesses. We have a few nationals, but we've been blessed actually that we've been able to provide what we consider appropriate space for neighborhood scale businesses. These are businesses that are not on the New York Stock Exchange. They're usually mom and pop family businesses. And we've also been fortunate in being able to migrate people from home-based businesses into permanent space, depending, on their needs. So generally, I would say we have been holding it in the road like most. It's a day-to-day thing. It's a day-to-day management thing. Historically speaking, we've weathered, at least I think 3 or 4 recessions because of the length of time we've been in business. And so what you find is you have to develop a strategy to be able to deal with the valleys that come along, with being in business.
So, Ms. Hester, can we talk about like this strategy in the valley?
Sure.
What are you doing? Yes. What are you doing?
Well, a lot. Now, let me just say this about commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, unlike residential, is not regulated by the government. There's no rules. So in a sense, it's whatever you can negotiate with the other party. In our case, we're talking about leases. And depending on the provisions of your lease, the landlord will have flexibility to do certain things. For instance, some people have discussed forbearance, which is a term that's used to allow some flexibility on payments, such as foregoing X number of payments now and attaching them to the end of a term. People are doing that with mortgages, home mortgages, and other types of installment type agreements. I don't know. Now, personally, we're not in a position to just forgive rent. Let me just say that we pay our bills and do everything month to month as everybody does. So very few people, even the big people, Cheesecake and all these folk are screaming that they can't pay their bills, which is somewhat of a surprise. But most landlords will not be able to just forego the complete payment of rent. You might be able to delay it for a while or work out some interim, types of measures. But again, it depends on the structure of the lease, because you just can't, boom, change what's in writing, what people have already agreed to. So it boils down to being a contract issue. So we've fortunate that we've been able to be somewhat flexible with our merchants in terms of their ability to pay, and most are doing well.
Okay. So how many of these businesses are in your complex?
We've got about 40 different businesses.
And then what are the variations of business? Who's there?
Well, our anchors, and they call them shadow anchors, are Walgreens and KFC. They're right on the corner. And now I'm gonna get in trouble if I can't name everybody, but
Well, you don't have to.
okay.
You're gonna give it a go though, right?
I'm gonna give it a go. We have several restaurants. We have Wang's Garden Chinese. We have Gigi's Fish and Chicken. We have Nzinga's, all at Phoenix Crossing. We have nail salons. We have two. Well, Phoenix Square and Phoenix Crossing. I'm just gonna mix them in by category. We have Nail Tricks. And then we have a new business, which is Harper's Parlor, a new nail salon in Phoenix Square. And we have several barbershops. We have Black Wall Street Barbershop, relatively been in business about 5 years. Thorpe's Barbershop, which was one of the original tenants at Phoenix Square, as well as Imperial, still in business under new ownership, because both of those owners have made the original owners have made the transition. But as wise business people, they put a succession plan in place so that the current tenants could purchase their businesses and keep on moving. A lot of people don't think about these things in advance, but you know, our elders were wise and planned for a lot of things. We have several hair salons. We have Royal Hair Gallery. We have Naturally Yours and Gail's Hair Gallery. That have been with us a long time. Let's see, we have World of Flowers, longtime florist, one of the original tenants also of Phoenix Square. So when I say our businesses have been able to hang in and endure, you know, they're wise business people. They are still in business. And some, let's see, Phoenix Square opened in '87. So it's been there for over 30 years. And some of these businesses are still there, which I think attests to the ability of the owners who are there.
Can we talk about Hayti and the power of Hayti before 147 split that community? And 147 is a major highway through Durham.
Mm-hmm. We want to talk about the impact of the highway?
Ma'am. Yes.
Oh, it was horrible. It was beyond horrible. And as a person living during that time, they started this stuff back in the 50s, as I call working up on it, using, you know, the legal means to wipe out communities. And when I left for school, I graduated in '70. I left for school. No land disturbance had taken place, but as I would come back home, over the years, you could see the tragic transformation of the community, the loss of business, the loss of homes, the dispersal of population, the complete destabilization of our economic base. And as longtime residents, well, not long, but as residents of Durham, even though my husband and I left and did other things and came back, where we grew up during during, you know, the heyday of Hayti, and wanted to see it return. Of course, you can't go, you know, turn back the hands of time, but you can build going forward. And we became very interested in the future of our community. But that highway, transportation has always been the Trojan horse. Either it was a highway, it was an airstrip, a railroad, something with transportation has always been involved to destabilize our Black communities nationwide. And it was tragic. The recovery really has not been realized. And given the new environment today, it's even more challenged. So it was, there were probably maybe 150, 200 businesses tightly packed between Pettigrew Street and down Fayetteville Street as far as Umstead, and probably over 600 residences. The other disturbing thing, if you go into the documents about the urban renewal, you'll see that they took much more land than they really needed for so-called clearance. They took more land, which was punitive, because there were some very grand, large homes along Fayetteville Street, Victorian homes, I mean, huge, beautiful homes. And of course, they were torn down, basically to erase any vestige of success that Black people had. That was the thing to do during that time. Just a scorched earth approach.
So fast forward to today and the COVID-19 pandemic. The federal government offered a small business loan program for people who needed it, who wanted it, who could probably use it. Were you able to benefit from that program?
No, not personally. And that's what we tell our merchants. We have not received any forbearance or relief ourselves as landlords. So we are limited, in what we can extend to you. Some people have some people have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars based on whatever criteria, was used, but we have not been so fortunate. And the other thing that we do not do, if our merchants are fortunate enough to get monies from the government, we don't require that they tell us. We don't require any disclosure. That's their personal business, and great for them. So I don't really have any firsthand knowledge of anyone that has received or not received. So I'm not able to comment on that part, but I just can say my husband and I have not received anything.
So did you apply?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You did apply.
Yeah,
and then there's supposed to be a second round of funding. Will you apply?
All I can do is say we'll wait and see. But thus far, we have not received anything.
Okay. You also run a pretty dynamic festival annually.
Oh, Phoenix Fest.
Yes, Phoenix Fest. So what's the outlook for Phoenix Fest this year?
Well, actually, right now, we're on pause. We are waiting to hear what the governor is going to declare as the norm of the day. Right now, and we also have, which is one of our businesses in the shopping center, the Phoenix Event Center, which is a event venue that can seat up to 150 people. It is also on pause by the government. I think gatherings over 25 people are still restricted. I don't know what phase 3 is going to look like. So right now we just don't know. And I know a lot of people are going stir crazy about the COVID. I'm in the high risk group. I really don't think I am, but the numbers say I am. So I'm gonna exercise caution. And as far as the festival goes, we're going to adhere to whatever the government says, because we do not want to be responsible for any type of major outbreak or health concern in the community. And I know there's some people planning events now. I see them kind of coming back and opening up, and so, like at the racetrack and different places, and they're trying to recharacterize themselves as some other type of gathering. But I personally don't agree with that. And everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and they will act accordingly. But I'm going to exercise caution and wear my mask, whether other folk have theirs on or not, because like you say, you don't know if you have it, if you can give it to somebody else, and vice versa. So I don't want to make anybody sick, and I don't want anybody making me sick either.
So last question, any advice that you might have for small African-American businesses as they try to maneuver their way through the pandemic?
Well, I have a favorite quote that I use all the time, because we are always confronted with surprises and things that can really devastate us and take our businesses down. But my quote is, opportunity often comes disguised as misfortune. And sometimes in the midst of a storm and perceive negative things going on, opportunities will present themselves, but you have to calm your mind, first of all, and not wig out and just rush out and do or say the first thing that comes to mind. You have to just, and whether you calm your mind through meditation, prayer, exercise, fasting, whatever that medium is that allows you to calm your mind so that you can reframe your thoughts and say everything is not a disaster. Because I've probably got 10 or 15 over the years situations where I faced what I thought was disaster, but coming out on the other side, when you look back on it, you say, well, wow, this wouldn't have happened had this other series of events not happened. Now, what the COVID is actually, to me, on a positive side as a business person, is forcing people to actually focus on their businesses. And the basic question is, what business are you really in? It's not always obvious, and a lot of people don't give it any thought. They are doing certain things, doing certain what we call transactional things, exchanging this service or this product for money. But the real crux of if you can understand what business you're really in, sometimes you can take that knowledge and extend it and take that further. For instance, the people who were making everything from moonshine to various types of alcoholic drinks have retooled their factories, and guess what? They're making sanitizer, because the process is basically, pretty much the same. Some of the restaurants have turned into selling bulk items because they, perhaps all the stuff they have in their freezers and all that kind of stuff is not going to be consumed in a timely manner. So they are actually turning to bulk sales. I know Waffle House, for instance, was doing that. But back to what business are you really in? Okay, let me give an example. If you look at, let's take a mattress company, Serta. Remember the Serta sleepers and the sheep and all that kind of stuff? Serta doesn't sell mattresses. Serta actually sells peace of mind or relaxation. That's the ultimate outcome of whatever you are producing or serving. So you might say a restaurant sells food, but maybe not. Maybe what that restaurant is actually selling is comfort or entertainment. So you have to look at this pause. If you can not be on panic or depression about it, you can look at your business and say, what am I actually providing to folk? Or what should I be, or what could I be? So it's a time for introspection. And it's also a time for getting your stuff together for stuff that you haven't had time to do that you should have been doing, because we stay so busy back and forth all the time. So that would be my point about COVID. And of course, apply for everything that you can, everything that you can find out there, and apply for it, because you never know what may materialize.
Okay.
And if you're a commercial person, talk to your everybody thinks the landlord is their enemy. Well, actually, the landlord is your best friend when you get into a jam, because depending on the relationship you've established with the landlord, you can go to that landlord, and the landlord, if they got any sense, they want to see you succeed so they can succeed. So, keep the channels of communication open with your bank, your lender, your credit card companies, all of those. I understand that people are actually going to Spectrum and the wireless companies, the credit card companies, and because of the pandemic, some of the rules have relaxed. And you can go there and you can ask them to forego payments or reduce payments. And they will, and they're supposed to do it without a ding on your credit.
Okay. So at the top of this, I introduced you as a longtime business owner, but tell me what your official, you and Mr. Hester, your official title.
Official, well, we have several companies that operate. We swap hats back and forth, but on some of them, Larry is the president, and we're all, we're organized as corporations. So he's the president on some, I'm the secretary, and then the flip-flop on the other. On some, I'm the president, he's the secretary.
So you
So
wear many hats, both of you.
we do, and
Yeah.
and as I say, well, this is just a bit of business advice, particularly for people, couples that work together or that have partners, you know, is it's best if you can do functionally in the business what you're best able to do. You should do, you know, you should always lean towards your strong points. And then there's all that other stuff that nobody wants to do. So in our case, we try to lean to what we're better at, also called doing what works. And everything else that's left, we just have to divide it up and do it. You know, kind of, okay, we just got to get through this, and we divide it up and come up with a plan to do it. But normally, if you can, you know, lean to where your strengths are, and because you'll be better, you know, just naturally, if that's a natural inclination that you have.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate it very much. And
And
tell
thank you for the
Mr. Hester,
opportunity.
yes, tell Mr. Hester I said thank you as well.
I'll tell him you missed him.
I did. Take good care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.